Chapter 7. The night won't end. The cabin lay in darkness, still trembling from the last assault. They moved from the room upstairs to downstairs. Daniel crouched with Lily in the corner, her small body pressed against his side. The rabbit lay discarded at her feet, its fur blackened where the shadow tendrils had brushed against it. She didn't move, and no words had left her mouth either. She just watched the windows and the door. Every instinct screamed, "Stay silent." The walls themselves seemed to breathe. Then came the first sound, a voice whispering, "It is not outside this time, but from inside the cabin." It slithered along the floorboards, curling upward like smoke. Daniel froze. "Daniel, Daniel." The voice was unmistakable now, they knew his name. "Lily," he whispered, trembling. "Stay close." She didn't answer. Her eyes followed the shadows as they slithered along the floorboards, seeping into the corners, gathering into shapes that writhed just beyond comprehension. From the other side of the room, Mom whimpered, They're in here." Dad's voice was scared and filled with fear. "No, it can't be. How can we keep them out if we can't fight back?" Daniel then remembered, "What about the water? They are afraid of water." The shadows weren't limited by walls or logic. They were intent, patient, and adaptive. The tendrils reached for the floorboards and walls, flipping the furniture over. The lights flickered twice, then they died entirely. The room was swallowed by the absolute black. Dad was closest to the kitchen. He jumped up from where he and Mom were sitting and ran to pour water into mugs. "Dad, no, be careful," Daniel shouted. Two shapes, tall and thin, glided along the wall, their faces elongated and stretched, their mouths opening as if to speak but producing only screams of dark sounds. Their hands were long, fingers tapering to impossible points, reaching for him and Lily. He shoved Lily behind him, bracing for the contact he knew would come. But they stopped, hovering in the air, not moving, testing him. Dad came running out with 3 cups full of water in his hands and threw them into the darkness. They recoiled slightly, then surged toward Dad, wrapping and twisting as if they were living things. Get out, Dad shouted. Mom grabbed him and pulled him back. "We can't, there's nowhere to go." Daniel realized she was right. The cabin, their supposed refuge, had become a trap. The shadows weren't just testing, they knew they were isolated, corralling them. Daniel pressed Lily closer. "Listen to me," he whispered. "They want us scared, that's how they get close. Stay calm and stay behind me and close." The shadows hesitated and shifted in a dance motion, but not advancing towards them. Daniel could feel them probing, measuring, and learning his fear, tasting his uncertainty. Then a new sound, scratching at the ceiling, slow and deliberate, like nails dragging across the wood. The lamp he'd brought from the hallway flickered, casting short-lived light on shapes above, shapes that shouldn't be able to hover. Lily shivered. "They're everywhere, Danny." Daniel nodded grimly. "Almost." Another tendril brushed his arm, everyone froze. Daniel's heartbeat is racing away. The shadows were learning and adapting. There would be no pause tonight, not until the first dawn rises. He took a deep breath. He had to think, they always moved in patterns. They started screaming again, louder, echoing inside the walls, calling everybody names. Marion, Richard. Daniel, Lily. He pressed himself against the wall with Lily, listening. Every scrape, every breath, and every vibration was part of a rhythm. They waited, testing, learning, and seeking openings. And then, as if coordinated, the shadows surged from every corner at once, toward the ceiling, the floor, and the walls. They didn't attack directly. They pressed in, surrounding, enclosing, and bending the light away. Daniel could barely see. He could only feel the pressure, the weight of intent, and the brush of impossible fingers. Mom and Dad advanced to stand behind Daniel. All 4 of them were by the fireplace, watching the shadows move in a kind of chess formation. And then the scream sounds again in the worst dark tone. It makes all the hairs on their heads stand on end. The fear crawls like a snake over their being, their existence, and their lives. It came from all over, the hallway, the kitchen, and upstairs. Long, dark, low, and wet dragging that wasn't quite footsteps. The dark pulsed with it, thickening, flowing around the edges of the room and snaking beneath the door. Daniel's heart leapt. The first real breach was about to happen. He gritted his teeth. "Hold on, little bug, I've got you." The shadows pressed closer, curling like smoke, thickening like ink. The air turned cold, heavy, and sharp with the metallic taste of fear. And then, from the darkness at the edge of the door, a hand came through. It touched the floor, searching, walking on their fingers. The shadows are everywhere. It looks like they've been trampled, and there's no way out, Daniel thinks to himself. They have to do something, they have to break away from the impossible problem. They need to break free.